The city of New York, a sprawling metropolis of ambition and hardship, was a place where dreams were either forged in fire or extinguished in the cold. For Zara Khan, it was a constant battleground. As a single mother, her days were a relentless cycle of work, sacrifice, and an unyielding devotion to her daughter, Isha. Her life was a meticulous, almost Spartan existence, where every dollar was accounted for and every spare moment was dedicated to Isha's future. Zara was a ghost in the city's bustling economy. By day, she was a quiet, efficient clerk at a small accounting firm, her fingers flying across the keyboard, her mind calculating numbers that never seemed to add up in her own life. By night, she was a freelance graphic designer, hunched over a laptop, turning out intricate logos and brochures for small businesses. Her hands, calloused from years of labor, were a testament to her unyielding will. She had once been a brilliant structural engineer, a rising star with a passion for elegant design, but that life had ended the day Isha was born. The husband had left, a brief, disappointing chapter in her life, and with him went her career. Motherhood, she discovered, was a full-time profession, and she had to choose. She chose Isha without a moment's hesitation. And now, after years of this grinding existence, she was here, standing in the marble-floored lobby of the prestigious Northwood Academy. It was a place that seemed to belong to a different world, a world of private cars, manicured lawns, and hushed, confident voices. For a year, she had worked 2 jobs, saving every dollar, all for this one moment. This was the entrance interview for Northwood, the most prestigious school in the city. A place where future leaders were molded, where legacies were born, and where Isha's potential, a potential that glowed with a luminescence that Zara recognized, would finally be unlocked. Isha was a prodigy, a quiet, observant child with a preternatural gift for mathematics and an artistic talent that bordered on genius. Her mind saw the world in patterns, and her hands could translate those patterns into breathtaking works of art. Zara clutched the worn folder in her hands. Inside were Isha's art portfolio, her flawless report cards, and a heartfelt letter of recommendation from her public school principal, who had seen in Isha what Zara saw every day, a rare and brilliant mind. The school's lobby was a monument to wealth and privilege. Gleaming marble floors reflected the warm light of crystal chandeliers. The walls were adorned with portraits of celebrated alumni, each one a testament to the school's power and influence. Other parents, dressed in designer clothes and carrying expensive leather briefcases, spoke in hushed, confident tones. They were discussing summer homes in the Hamptons, business acquisitions, and the exclusive committees they were on. Zara, in her simple, clean but visibly worn clothes, felt like a ghost, an intruder in a world she did not belong to. She was an asterisk, a parenthesis in their world of solid gold. A woman with a stiff smile called her name, and Zara's heart pounded with a nervous rhythm. She was led into a spacious, wood-paneled office. Behind a large mahogany desk sat the principal, Mr. Harrison. He was a man whose crisp suit seemed to be made of authority itself. His glasses were perched perfectly on his nose, and his smile was a practiced, dismissive curve. He was not a man of warmth, but of judgment. He glanced at Zara's forms, his gaze lingering on the blank space for father's name and the modest income stated. The silence that followed was louder than any words. "Ms. Khan," he said, his voice a smooth, cold steel. "Isha's academic record is adequate. Her portfolio shows some promise. But Northwood is more than just a school. It's a community. We have expectations. Financial contributions, parental involvement in our prestigious committees, things that, frankly, our other parents can provide." He gestured vaguely at her worn clothes, a subtle, cruel gesture that landed like a physical blow. Zara felt a hot flush of shame creep up her neck, a shame that was not for herself, but for Isha. "Sir, I assure you," Zara said, her voice trembling with the effort to remain steady. "I will work even harder. I will pay for everything. Isha is the most talented child I've ever known. This is her dream. She has a gift for mathematics and a passion for art that is beyond her years. Please, just give her a chance." Mr. Harrison's smile tightened, a line of condescension on his face. "Dreams, Ms. Khan, are a luxury. Northwood is a reality. An expensive one. Our curriculum, our facilities, our reputation, they are all maintained by a certain level of commitment, both financial and social. We can't have a student from a less privileged background disrupt the balance. It would be a disservice to her, and to our community. I'm afraid your application has been rejected. I wish you and your daughter the best of luck elsewhere." He stood up, a clear signal that the interview was over. He did not offer his hand. He simply turned away. Zara felt the world tilt. All her sacrifices, all her hopes, had been dismissed in a single, cold sentence. Her eyes welled up with tears, not for herself, but for the devastated look she knew would be on Isha's face. The dreams she had held so dearly, the dreams she had worked so hard to build, were shattered. She walked out of the office, her heart a leaden weight in her chest. She stumbled down the grand staircase, her vision blurred by tears. The marble floors, which had once gleamed with a promise of a better future, now felt cold and mocking. Just as she reached the bottom, a man pushing a cleaning cart stopped her. He was an elderly janitor, his face kind and wrinkled, his name tag reading Frank. He saw the tears in her eyes and the discarded application in her hand. "Ma'am," he said softly, his voice gentle. "Are you all right?" Zara shook her head, unable to speak. Frank's eyes, full of a deep, knowing empathy, went to the rejection letter. "They think they know talent," he murmured. "They only know money. It's the way of the world, I suppose." His words, a simple truth from a man society had deemed invisible, broke through Zara's defenses. She looked at him, and for the first time, she felt seen. She saw not a janitor, but a person with a soul, a person who understood her pain without needing a single explanation. "My daughter, she is brilliant," Zara whispered, her voice cracking. "But they didn't even see her. They just saw me. And they saw a number on a page, and a lack of a husband. They saw a liability, not a person." Frank nodded slowly. Sometimes, the greatest artists are invisible to those who only look for a famous name. They look at the painting, but they don't see the brushstrokes, the lines, the way the colors are layered. They don't see the foundation. He gestured to a large, elaborate mural on the lobby wall. "Do you see that? It's a masterpiece, they say. It was painted by a very famous artist. But it's full of mistakes. The structure is all wrong. The weight is not distributed correctly. An artist can paint a pretty picture, but it takes an engineer to build a masterpiece that will last." Zara looked at the mural, her architectural mind, dormant for years, suddenly stirring. She saw it. The elegant curves were beautiful, but the foundational lines were flawed. The very logic of the design was compromised. The mural, just like the school itself, was built on a flawed foundation. "How did you know I was an engineer?" Zara asked, shocked. Frank smiled. "I didn't. But I know a person who sees the world differently when I see one. You weren't looking at the paint, you were looking at the lines underneath. Just like your daughter, who drew a blueprint for her future on a piece of paper, and you are trying to build it for her." He reached into his pocket and handed her a small, folded piece of paper. It was a business card. "Sometimes, a new path is revealed when you are thrown off the old one. My brother, he is also an engineer. A civil engineer. He has a small, struggling company, but he is a good man, and he has been looking for a skilled structural engineer for a while. He is a man who sees talent, not a bank account." He looked at her with a gentle, encouraging gaze. "Don't let their arrogance define your worth, ma'am. Your greatest qualification is not on a resume. It's in your heart." Zara took the paper, a small beacon of hope in the vast darkness of her despair. She went home and, with tears in her eyes, hugged her daughter. She did not tell her about the rejection. She did not want to crush her spirit. Instead, she said, "Sweetheart, we are going to find a better place for you. A place where you can truly shine. A place where your genius is appreciated, not judged." Over the next few weeks, Zara's life was a whirlwind of change. The civil engineering company, run by Frank's brother, was indeed small and struggling. It was housed in a cramped, dusty office in a Brooklyn industrial park. But the work was challenging, and it reawakened a part of her that had been dormant since Isha was born. The projects were modest, reinforcing the foundations of old brownstones, designing small community bridges, and inspecting the structural integrity of new constructions. But Zara's talent was undeniable. She saw structural weaknesses where others saw strength, and she designed solutions that were both elegant and groundbreaking. She wasn't just an engineer, she was an architect of possibility. She would work all day, and then come home and work with Isha on her drawings, her passion for engineering bleeding into her daughter's passion for art. Meanwhile, back at Northwood Academy, an invisible crisis was unfolding. The school's main building, a centuries-old heritage site, was developing severe structural issues. The grand auditorium, a source of immense pride, was deemed unsafe. It was a silent, creeping terror. The school hired the city's most expensive and prestigious architectural firms, but all of them proposed the same thing, an impossibly expensive and time-consuming renovation that would shut down the entire school for 2 years. The cost would bankrupt them, and the shutdown would destroy their reputation. The school's legacy, built over a century, was on the line, and the board, a powerful group of executives and politicians, was in a state of panic. Mr. Harrison, the very same man who had rejected Zara, was at his wits' end. He had exhausted every possible solution, and the pressure from the board was immense. He was walking through the school's hallway, his mind a frantic mess, when he saw Frank, the janitor, cleaning the same wall where he had first encountered Zara. "The building is a mess, isn't it, Frank?" he said, more to himself than to the janitor. "A complete, unfixable mess." "Sir," Frank replied, "some problems can't be solved with money. They need a different kind of eye. An eye that sees the broken places and knows how to mend them, an eye that sees the world in lines, not in dollar signs." Mr. Harrison scoffed. "And where am I supposed to find a person with such an eye? I have hired the best and the brightest, and they have all failed." Frank smiled, a knowing look in his eyes. He said nothing. He simply continued his work, leaving Mr. Harrison to his frantic thoughts. He had a quiet faith in the universe, and in the power of a single act of kindness. A week later, at a desperate board meeting, the members were discussing shutting down the school for good. The cost of renovation was simply too high. Mr. Harrison was presenting the grim numbers when an unexpected email arrived on the board chairman's laptop. The subject line read, "A new proposal for Northwood Academy's structural crisis." The email was from a small, unheard-of engineering firm. The proposal was simple, elegant, and, most importantly, cost-effective. It proposed a new, unprecedented method of structural reinforcement that would not only fix the existing problems but would also make the building stronger than it had ever been, without a single day of shutdown. The email included detailed blueprints, a virtual 3D walkthrough, and a video explaining the concept. The design was revolutionary, a work of pure genius. The chief engineer was Zara Khan. The board members were stunned. They couldn't believe such a brilliant solution could come from such a small firm. The chairman, a hardened businessman, looked at the name of the chief architect, Zara Khan. He immediately recognized the name from the initial applications for the new semester. "Mr. Harrison," he said, his voice a low growl. "Is this the same Zara Khan from the application list? The single mother?" Mr. Harrison's face went pale. He remembered the name, the simple clothes, the desperate plea. He remembered his dismissive words. A cold dread settled in his stomach. The person he had rejected, the mother he had humiliated, was now the only one who could save his school. The unbelievable truth was setting in. The board, without a moment's hesitation, hired Zara's firm. Mr. Harrison was tasked with making the call. His hand trembled as he dialed the number. Zara's voice was calm, professional, and entirely devoid of the desperation he remembered. He stammered through an apology and explained the situation, his practiced confidence gone, replaced by a desperate, pleading tone. Zara listened, a small, knowing smile on her face. She had done it. She had found a new path, a new purpose, and she had built something beautiful out of her pain. She had proven that a mother's love, a love that would not give up, was the greatest qualification of all. She had shown them that genius could not be measured by the size of a bank account, but by the size of a heart. She had shown them that their flawed foundation was about to be fixed by a woman they had deemed unworthy. The renovation of Northwood Academy became a testament to Zara's genius. She worked tirelessly, her small firm expanding rapidly to meet the demand. She personally oversaw every detail, from the structural reinforcement to the aesthetic redesign, ensuring that the new building was not only strong, but also beautiful and functional. The school staff and students watched in awe as the building was transformed without a single day of disruption. Mr. Harrison, humbled and ashamed, tried to make amends. He offered Isha a full, 4-year scholarship, even going so far as to offer to personally pay for her books and supplies. He also offered Zara a lucrative position as the head of the school's new architectural department. But Zara gently declined the job offer. "Mr. Harrison," she said, her voice kind but firm. "I don't need a job. I have a company now. A company that builds not just buildings, but dreams." She accepted the scholarship for Isha, but with one condition, that the school would start a new program to provide scholarships to other talented students from underprivileged backgrounds. Mr. Harrison, with the full support of the board, agreed without hesitation. Zara had not sought revenge. She had sought justice. She had not just built a building, she had built a legacy. The school that had once rejected her had now become a foundation for her future and a testament to her unyielding spirit. She had shown the world that a mother's love, when powered by courage and a refusal to give up, could build anything. And so, the story of the single mother who was rejected by a school became a legend. It was a legend not of defeat, but of triumph. It was a story that proved that the greatest masterpieces in life are not made of marble and gold, but of grit, determination, and an unwavering belief in a child's dream. It was a story that changed a school, a community, and a mother's life forever. In the years that followed, Zara Khan became a name synonymous with innovation and integrity in the world of engineering. Her company, Zara Designs, flourished, taking on projects that were not only profitable but also socially impactful. She designed schools for underprivileged children, bridges for remote villages, and flood-proof homes for communities in need. She became a public figure, a symbol of hope and a living testament to the power of a single person to change the world. She never forgot where she came from. She would often visit Frank at Northwood Academy, sitting with him in the very spot where their lives had intersected. She would share her triumphs and her struggles, and he would listen patiently, offering simple, profound advice. He taught her that true success was not in the number of people who worked for her, but in the number of people she helped. Isha, now a student at Northwood Academy, was a different child. She was still brilliant, still a prodigy, but her brilliance was now tempered with a deep sense of humility and compassion. She saw the world not as a competition to be won, but as a community to be served. She started a program at the school to mentor students from the new scholarship program, and she would often tell them the story of her mother, of the woman who had built an empire not with money, but with love. She told them that a mother's love, a love that would not give up, was the greatest qualification of all. Mr. Harrison, now a changed man, would often walk the halls of Northwood Academy, and his eyes would linger on the new, reinforced walls of the main building. He would think of the woman he had rejected, the woman who had saved his school. He had learned a hard lesson that day, a lesson that his prestigious education had never taught him. He had learned that true value is not found in a person's resume, but in their character. The story of Zara and Isha became a legend, a beacon of hope in a cynical world. It reminded people that beneath the layers of greed and despair, there was a well of human kindness, a well that, when tapped, could transform lives and change the world. It was a story that proved that a mother's love could build a masterpiece of a life. And in that simple, profound truth, she found her greatest victory. The final chapter of their story was not written in a book or a documentary, but in the quiet moments they shared. One evening, Zara visited Frank at his humble home. He was sitting on the porch, watching the sunset. "Zara," he said, his voice soft, "you have given me more than a job. You have given me a life. I am a very lucky man." "No, Frank," Zara replied, her voice filled with emotion. "I am the lucky one. You gave me a future when I had nothing. You taught me the true meaning of success. You are the reason I am here today." Frank smiled, his eyes twinkling. "Then we are both very lucky. We were two lost souls, but we found each other. And in doing so, we found our purpose." Zara nodded, tears streaming down her face. She looked at the setting sun, its last rays painting the sky in a blaze of orange and pink. She thought of the cold office, the dismissive words, and the simple kindness of a man who saw the world in lines, not in dollar signs. She had gone from being a humiliated mother to a powerful CEO, but the most valuable journey she had ever taken was the one that led her back to that bus stop, back to the man who had shown her that the greatest act of love is not in what you receive, but in what you give. And in that simple, profound truth, she found her greatest victory. The legacy of Zara Khan and her company extended far beyond the borders of New York City. She became a global ambassador for ethical engineering, speaking at conferences and universities around the world. Her company's model of social responsibility was emulated by businesses of all sizes, and she was hailed as a visionary. But despite her fame and fortune, she never lost her humility. She remained a quiet, thoughtful woman who saw the world not as a series of problems to be solved, but as a series of opportunities for kindness. She was a mother, a CEO, an engineer, and a philanthropist, but above all, she was a human being who had learned that true strength is not in a building's foundation, but in the heart of the person who built it. The story of Zara and Isha became a reminder that no matter how dark the night, a single act of kindness can light up the world. This story is a reminder that rejection is not a dead end. It is a redirect. It is a reminder that the greatest acts of kindness can come from the most unexpected people, and that a mother's love is the most powerful force in the world. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to be reminded of their own strength. Like and subscribe for more stories that will change your perspective and remind you that a mother's love is the greatest qualification of all.